as a queer person growing up, I didn't feel like I could bring people home.
My last relationship, I broke up with my partner the day before Thanksgiving, and then I had to go spend Thanksgiving Day with him and his family.
You have permission to not tell anybody anything. Like, you have permission to
100%.
refuse people knowledge about you.
I don't like the questions like, asking me details about my life. I'm a very private person. So I said, if you're going to keep asking me questions, I'm going to feel uncomfortable. I'm not going to come showing up anymore. I'm not, just not. So stop asking questions, enjoy the event, and let's have some fun.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Keep On Loving the podcast. I know it's been a minute since you've seen us, but we're still here. We are still recording, but we wanted to get this holiday special event out for you all. If you don't know who I am by now, please ask yourself, what are you doing? I am Amia Pacheco Branch, the Community Engagement Coordinator for the Division of HIV Health. And over to my right, I have my esteemed co-host. You know, he's always going to hold it down with us. We have Mr. Harlan Shaw.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
How are you?
I'm great. I mean, it's good to see you again.
It's good to see. I mean, we do work right next to each other in cubicles.
But I didn't see you since yesterday, so.
This is correct. Now we have really great guests. One of them have already been here. The other one, their spouse was here, so it's really great to get them here. Like, I'm really excited about today. We want to welcome back Evan Thornburg from the Division of HIV Health, who is our Chief Equity Health Officer.
No,
Health Equity
Officer.
There you go.
Yes, there you go.
I got you, girl.
You got me?
I got you.
All right.
That's why there's co-hosts.
That's why it's a co-host, okay?
Support.
And then I'm going to see if I get this one right. Not only do we have Evan, but we have Mix Trinity Wilson, who is from Well Yes Task Force, and they are the program coordinator for the Well Yes Task Force. Let's welcome them. Woo! All right, y'all. So I'm going to break my phone out. You know, I usually have the cue cards, but today was moving a little fast. We're going to jump right into it. For y'all who don't know at home, today's theme is holidays, love, and safety, navigating relationships, family, and wellness. So this is going to be, it is a mouthful, and we are going to be talking about a mouthful. So,
Ow.
the holidays can be a mixed bag, right? Family traditions and parties. So let's start with an icebreaker, okay?
Okay.
What has been the best or wildest holiday memory that you have that has involved love, dating, or just to survive family drama?
Trinity. Let's start with you.
I guess it's a little bit of both, right? So last year was the first year I've ever brought a partner home for the holidays. So the spouse that you were talking about, it was an interesting experience, an anxiety-ridden experience, because as a queer and trans person, bringing home a black queer trans person, bringing home the person you're dating is one thing, but being trans and bringing home somebody is just something that isn't expected. Mm-hmm. I appreciated that my family opened their arms and were willing to get to know my partner in the ways that they did. Because for me, it's important that family and my friends and my loved ones all can mesh together well. Not everybody gonna get along, we know that, but being able to bring people together is important to me. So I think that was it. Yeah, and I would say it saved drama because we were trying to figure out what to do for the holidays. So we just went to see a family.
Oh, I like that. Okay, Evan, what is the best or wildest holiday memory that you've had that involves love, dating, or just trying to survive family drama?
I don't think it's too wild. I mean, I got a pretty wild family. It's not not family drama, but all of us are quirky, strange. We all come up from all across the spectrum of identities and all sorts of things. But I would have to say, in the last few years, I think a couple years ago, who's now my wife, but my spouse currently, we decided to test it out because we knew we were probably moving towards marriage, that we should get our families together. And so having my mom come with us to Virginia, and having her do a holiday with my spouse's family, like her mom and her stepdad and stuff. So that was pretty wild because we were just like, we didn't know how these folks would mix, you know. Sometimes the old folks, you know, they
I don't know about that.
But they became a vibe. Yeah. Now we all get together. We're getting together on Thanksgiving. You know? So yeah, we're all together.
Harlan.
I don't think I have any wild stories.
Or best
stories. Oh, I don't have any best stories. The holidays are the holidays. They're stressful for me. But my last relationship, I broke up with my partner the day before Thanksgiving, and then had to go spend Thanksgiving Day with him and his family in Virginia. That was a little weird.
Why?
Because his grandmother was sick and she invited me.
Oh,
and I wanted to
respect
go.
it.
And I
we
really
don't
liked his
disrespect
grandmother.
grand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How about you?
But were you there for Christmas?
And I did go for Christmas because his mom bought me a bunch of Christmas presents, so I had to go.
Yeah, well, you do got to
And
go.
they knew we were broken up by then.
It's the partner tax.
Because I'm going to ask the important question.
I'm going to go get my balloon.
What's mine
I'm
is
sitting
mine.
here thinking of which story. So growing up, my family was a tad dysfunctional. So
We just saw the pictures.
Okay.
Not you brought up the picture.
Oh, you haven't. I come from.
We'll share the pictures with our producer, and he can put it.
If
guys. Be in the Discord.
you haven't noticed, I'm very loud because my family is loud. So you can only imagine like the drama. Everybody gave cutesy stories. I can give family drama. I remember when my uncle, he had a really bad alcoholism problem, and I remember him like running down on my mom and me grabbing a butcher knife to try to like harm him. Oh, wow. And I remember that being one of the most intense holiday like get-togethers. Like my grandmother's there, my father's there, my grandfather's there, my aunts and my uncles, and it just like that was one of the most roughest, like I could have harmed my mother. Like the knife it was just really, really like crazy. But now, with everyone being so much older, I'm also the youngest out of my family. So,
but why that voice had to?
Yeah, right.
Like you had to paint the audience a picture.
I did. I had to let them know.
She was using juxtaposition because she didn't want to say she was older. She just wanted to keep saying she was the youngest.
I was
Right.
the youngest. Yeah. So my so like I'm the baby. So now like being around them is totally different from like when it was like wild times to now. Like it's really quiet. Like my aunt's quietly in the kitchen cooking. My mom and my aunt or my uncle are watching TV. I'm trying to figure out why no one else had any kids my age, because now I'm just sitting here with 3 older adults and I'm just really ready to go home. But it's totally different now. That was mine.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm moving along to the next question.
So why do you think the holidays make relationships, whether romantic or with family, so intense? That's for anybody.
I just feel like it's intense because you're bringing everyone together. So it's so many different personalities, so many different lifestyles and everything. And they were putting them all under one roof. And families already have a lot of tension. Everybody's family does. I don't care. Nobody's family. Everybody does. They just don't talk about it. And the holidays bring all of that up. You put all these people in a room. They got all these secrets. They got all this, like, we talking shit about each other.
And then y'all
in
want
the
to throw
background.
liquor into it?
And then they can put some liquor into it. And then there's some annoying behind kids in the background running around making noise and just irritating you. It just creates a whole a soup of mess. And I love it.
Anybody else?
That's why I host Christmas and all the holidays. I love it.
I think for me, it for not just for what Harlan said, but also because that is chaos. I think for me, it's growing up, like I had Christmas, I had Thanksgiving, we celebrated the holidays, but I think growing up and seeing how other people celebrated them added the pressure for me as an adult, because I wanted the things that I didn't have when I was younger. So now that I can provide them for myself, trying to give it to me, give it to my partner, and try to like spread that kind of love, it's a lot.
I can feel that. I can definitely feel that, because I just wanted to be the Black Martha Stewart.
Yes.
And I just want to give, like,
and pick up my Viola Davis purse and hit it when I'm done. Like, that's all.
I just want to give, like, it's intense because, like, am I making grandmom's corn pudding right? Like, is she going to come through the holidays and be that ancestor that says just enough? That's enough, baby. Like, that's what I did. And that, like, be really scary.
That doesn't like my answer, which is like expectation, right? There's is expectation of how it's supposed to look, what we're supposed to be doing. Like, are we failing at holidays if we have to spend them at a soup kitchen? Are we failing the holidays if we have to spend them alone? Are we failing at being an adults and doing the holidays if we spend them with people that aren't our blood relationship? But it's expectation, and I think American culture and American capitalism especially has set it up in a way where we're supposed to make it look some way and not feel some way, right?
Oh, that was really good, Evan. See, this is why I said Evan needs to be here, because I feel like
it's like they want us to, that expectation, it feels like I'm supposed to look like the Christmas card that we all saw on TV growing up. And that's just not a reality for most people.
You can look like that for a quick second just to take the picture, but then afterwards,
exactly.
it's a hot mess.
And even that,
I mean, the
thinking
cuss
about
outs that happen leading up to getting in the pajamas
literally
to get
as
the
you're walking up to the camera. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this.
Just
Get your
smile.
you better stand still.
Smile.
No, go get your in the car.
Right,
Like,
exactly.
Yeah. Also, like, side note, I have never taken family photos for holidays ever.
Oh wow!
I don't think I have either.
Now my aunt
It's a
has
challenge
gotten
for both
us
of
like
you to do
pajamas
that
and
this
stuff
year.
to do, but I've
It's
never.
a challenge for both of you to do that this year.
Okay.
This year, next, can we get a whole year?
The
to do it?
holidays.
Do we got a next month?
month.
Take photos with Santa.
Right.
Parents love getting photos with
I'll
Santa,
take a
even when
picture
you're a
with
full
Black
grown
Santa.
up.
Okay.
Yeah.
They do.
All right. I stand in the line.
What line is you gonna stand in?
Santa, you know.
Look at we growing. What line is we standing in to go sit with Santa?
That's why I said her.
I don't know, because
Why you gonna
I'm
have
a
your party
trans
dress up?
black woman in
Yeah.
America. I don't want them to
you
think
could
I'm
be
trying to
Mrs.
steal this
Claus.
romance.
Exactly.
You know what?
You
Like,
like
I'm
Mrs.
telling you,
Claus.
I'm
Stand
gonna
next
instead of
to
giving
him.
them.
just do it at home.
Oh my
Just do it at
goodness.
home.
We're just gonna get a backdrop and we gonna do it ourselves.
There you go.
Okay, so let's talk about family dynamics and identity. For a lot of people, going home for the holidays means being around family who might not fully understand or accept their identities or relationships. How do you deal with family members who might ask awkward or invasive questions about your love life? I think this is one of my favorite questions thus far.
For me, if I'm honest, only one of my sisters asks about my relationships, but all of my nieces ask about my relationship. So when me bringing AJ home, and that's the spouse, just in case people were wondering, me bringing AJ home last year, a lot of people who had heard about him was like, oh, I want to meet AJ, and it kind of felt good that when we left, people were hurt that they didn't get a chance to meet my partner. Because that lets me know, like, not only do you care about me, but you also care about my relationship. And growing up, like you said, like, as a queer person growing up, I didn't feel like I could bring people home. So knowing
I know I
that
couldn't bring people home.
I couldn't bring people home that were of the same gender. I'll say that.
And loving on me.
Yeah, that's it.
That's
loving
the same
on me.
gender loving.
Because otherwise, everything was fine. Yeah, they could stay the night and all that. I don't like a baby couldn't have, but we'll talk about that later. So I think that's what it was for me. And being able to even have these opportunities to talk about it, like we often don't get to reflect on it either. So yeah, I took him home, but I don't even think him and I really had a conversation about how impactful that was for our relationship.
A whole year ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now it's a year later, and it's like,
Oh,
that happened.
it
Have you,
is.
met have you gone with his family to
Oh
spend
yeah.
the holidays?
Usually, what happens around Christmas is his family and me and AJ, we all get together. We get an Airbnb, and all of his nieces and nephews come together, and then we invite people to come.
Oh, that's nice.
So for Christmas, that's usually what happens.
Maybe I'll get invited this year.
Maybe.
Evan?
Wow.
Ask the question again.
Okay.
I was listening intently to Trinity.
The question is, how do you deal with family members who might ask awkward or invasive questions about your love life?
I think the thing that, and I don't think we get it often with family, but you have permission to not tell anybody anything. Like, you have permission
Yes,
to
100%.
refuse people knowledge about you. I think we often try to figure out, especially as queer people, when we go back into space with unwelcoming family members, or people that are, abrasive. And we know when people are asking a question because they genuinely want to know something about us. Like when you're talking about with your nieces wanting to meet your partner, like, they're interested in knowing your spouse versus people who are trying to antagonize you.
Yeah.
Like that aunt to keep asking you when you gonna have a baby.
When you gonna get married. Yeah.
When you gonna have a baby? When you gonna?
You know why they're asking. But you have every right to refuse people to know you too. Yes. Just because you're going into space, because you got to be. We just were saying before we started recording, you got to respect grands or whatever. Oh no, we said it here too. Yeah. You got to respect grands, you got to respect elders, whatever, and you come home for that reason. But you don't have to tell people your business. Like, you really can't. And I'm saying it plain face. Like, you can say plain face, like, no, I'm not interested in answering that, or that's not for you. I think we think that our family members deserve our vulnerability and intimacy, and they just not all of them do, and that's okay.
I completely agree with Evan. I nipped that in the bud when I was a teenager. I would bring every person I've ever dated, I brought around my family, and if you like them, you don't. If you do, good for you. But I don't like the questions like, asking me details about my life. I'm a very private person. So I said, if you're going to keep asking me questions, I'm going to feel uncomfortable. I'm not going to come showing up anymore. Just not. So stop asking questions, enjoy the event, and let's have some fun.
You earn access.
Right.
I come from an older black family, so it was a very much don't ask, don't tell. It don't. My grandmom still wanted to know why you moving a little,
People don't say it, but they show
I'm
up
not moving like
they
this.
still
You
have
just can't see
issues.
Granny.
That was the only you acting funny. You
just didn't take your medicine.
You acting a little sassy over it. Like, but that was it. Like, there was really now, like, I think Mickey was the first person that I took to like the holidays, but it was cool. My family didn't ask a lot of questions. I think they were just here for it because they already knew who my spouse was.
Okay.
But it does get really like I thought more of this question when I was thinking of this question of just like cisgender women who get that like
so when you guys gonna get married?
When are you gonna get married, or when you gonna find you a man? But you know that that her and Pam have been roommates for like 13 years now.
Right.
Like we know what's up.
Y'all just not
my
talking about
caveat
it.
with what I said earlier, though, too, is that I also understand the toxicity of people pretending to not know what's going on, right? And I think about this in my own life with, like, my black family, because there are queer cousins that I've had that were the generation above me that I think we did a real disservice before they went to their grave. Not talking about them, especially because we all knew, like, if they weren't present, everybody was talking about them. I remember that distinctively of saying, like, well, we all know how they are, or he is, or or misgendering people or whatever. But as soon as they came around, there was no discussion. And I'm like, well, if we're willing to discuss them when they're not here, then why weren't we willing to discuss them, like, let them discuss themselves amidst us and be profoundly themselves? Because I think so I feel guilt. I was a child, so I wasn't responsible, but I feel guilt around that. So I do want to make the line between the toxic refusal versus the you don't have to have access to me. I don't owe you access.
Now, now that you're an adult, do you find yourself creating a space where that is welcoming to have that conversation, or giving them the opportunity, family members or friends that are sharing these holidays, the opportunity to share them, those pieces of themselves?
Yeah, I also think that, and I'm really proud of this, that I think my family also has evolved. I think they evolved too late, because there are people that lost their lives already that did not get to see that acceptance that I got to see. So, like, for example, I had a full wedding in May, and I had all three of the matriarchs on my mom's side present. The matriarchs are always the oldest women.
Like that.
And all three of them, we invited them. We did not think that two of them would come because my mom's one of them, so obviously she was going to come. But the other two said, yeah, and they bought plane tickets, and they came, and they had a great time, and they told me it was beautiful, and they were excited. They gave me a gift. But they refused that energy. This is at 80 years old. They refused that energy to some of my cousins.
Do you think it had anything to do with your success of how you are as a human? Yeah. Because I think that sometimes, because we all, we're all African American at this table.
Yes.
It's one thing of being in the LGBT community. and not. I feel like once you be like come home for the holidays and you're not only and this is going to segue into the next conversation. When you're coming over home for the holidays, you're not only sometimes trying to like keep your like gayness down, especially if you're new, or your like your queerness down, but it is also, if I come out and I am not a successful gay, I am just
everything
in
that
the
you do,
everything else. Well, is that what's the if my spouse
is
You would do that on top of being unemployed.
Right. If you weren't gay, you would have had a job.
Okay, if my spouse is not, and if I am a breadwinner, if my spouse is not a breadwinner, well, what you couldn't find another, you know,
Right.
like to be.
If it's not your sexuality,
you
they'll
know,
find something else to nitpick.
you
They
know,
will
like,
absolutely
everything.
find something else.
So
that enforces it.
Yeah,
And
so
I will
I
say,
think, and I think that goes to what Harlan said earlier of not wanting to share, because depending on what I share depends on what you could say back, and who I am is very protective over the people I love. So if you say something negative back, it's going to be negative that comes back at you.
your like segue question, like I'm gonna say yes, and I'm gonna say there's like it's a combination of like elitism, right? Because I'm the most educated person on that side of the family. It's definitely colorism. Like I know, as a biracial black person, like I know y'all thought differently of me because my father was white, and like I know that has bearing because the family members that did not get to be openly queer could never have invited you to a queer wedding and have you attend. Were darker skinned older folks from the same generation, right? They should have known better kind of things, right? They were people that, like you said, in terms of how we define success in our capitalist society, did not experience it, or had trouble with the law, or like in the justice system because of the limitations on their lives. So yeah, I would absolutely lean in and say, like, if I wasn't able to present as this magnanimous queer success, so yeah, did they show up and like accept my queerness because they want to be close to this person that they find the most successful in the family? Or and like accepting my queerness became enveloped in part of that? I don't know, probably, at least subconsciously. I'd like to think that they grew in their politics too because of how they talk about certain other things and like identities, but I would absolutely lean in and say, like, also it wasn't a challenge based on privileges.
Right.
Evan,
you get
Evan be like,
oh
and I
God.
said,
Right.
let's skip on to the next half of the topic, which is hookups and holiday romance. Let's talk about hookups during the holiday season, whether it's meeting someone new or at a party or reconnecting with an old flame. It seems like a lot of holiday sparks a lot of moments. What do you think happens?
I think it's the like
Everything wasn't
Yeah,
bad.
everything is like bad, but people don't want to be lonely during the holidays. Like I feel like because everything is marketed to coming together and bringing together. So if you're not someone who's close with your family, or say your family lives on the other side of the country, you want to have somebody there. And if you don't have friends, because all your friends are out with their families, you want to find at least a warm body that like give you some of that feeling, you know?
How can you keep things safe, emotionally, and physical when you are engaging in holiday flings? What are red flags to watch out for?
This is for you,
Evan. This is
for you,
that's
too.
Evan.
Yes.
Oh, here
Why
we
is it for
go.
me?
I forgot about this question. I'm gonna run it back for you. How can you keep things safe, emotionally and physically, when engaging in holiday flings? What are some red flags to watch out
I think
for?
my major red flag around this time is because there's a lot of drinking. And I think anybody trying to make you drink to excess is already a red flag for me. Making you trying to crossfade. I think that's the other thing is a lot of people, one of the things unfortunately we see, because I used to work at the mayor's office of LGBT affairs, and one of the things we see is that unfortunately every year that I worked there, I saw a lot of life lost. And it was not because people have different varying engagements with substance use, but it's because at the holidays people are pushed to engage in a lot of substance mixing that they wouldn't usually do. So people who would have usually maybe abused alcohol are encouraged to use other substances like opioids, or like, again, like called crossfading, or people who are used to doing simply opioids or doing uppers and downers, or then asked to drink to excess. And all of these things really can affect your life, but they also can create a precarious situation where somebody can be really overstep and really go beyond consent. And so I would always tell people, because Thanksgiving is actually has the highest rate of drinking and the highest rate of
Eve.
drunk driving that happens all year. Not New Year's, not Christmas.
But
it's Thanksgiving.
And it's also because of depression. Like depression is also on the rise around the holidays for people.
Seasonal
so
depression
people
is very
are
real.
medicating, self-medicating.
But this year,
You said what?
I said I've definitely been.
Yeah, I battle with seasonal depression, and around August, October, I start to feel different. And about the end of September, I'm like, oh, she's here. She's here.
Trinity, red flags. Well, not only red flags, but how can you keep things safe emotionally and physically when engaging in holiday flings? And what are some red flags to watch out for?
I think communication is truly important. It's invaluable, truthfully. And no matter which way you choose to hook up with people, right? Because like there's tons of different apps that we could use and I could name, but we're not sponsored by them yet, so I won't. You won't get this coin. But yeah, like even on dating apps, like you're lonely, you want that attention, or even if you just want that affection, standing in that, right? So like if you get on these apps and you just looking to cuddle, if someone comes to your house and they try to sleep with you, just because you're lonely does not mean you have to have sex with them.
Okay.
If you just want to cuddle, kick their
behind
out.
I want to cuddle.
And if that's it, that's it. If the person doesn't want to respect that, we have to remember consent applies to everything.
And enthusiastic.
Enthusiastically, yes. And consent can change by the second, by the minute, and what that looks like can change just like that. So I would say red flag, someone who's not respecting you as a person, regardless of whether or not they've had a substance or you've had a substance. But especially with substances this time of year, when you're going out with your friends to the bars, or especially when you're going by yourself to the bars, pay attention to your cocktails. There are some bars in Philadelphia that have now created these covers that they can put directly on your drink, but not every bar has that, right? So because not every bar has that, a napkin doesn't cut it. A napkin can get wet and they can drop the pill in, they can drop something in your drink, and then you are susceptible to something potentially happening to you. So it's, again, about conversation. If you choose to go out this holiday season, especially Black Friday weekend, go out with your friends, the friends you trust, not just people you like to party with, because anything could happen to you.
I just had a memory of my first holiday when we first met each other. That's what I was saying. It just popped in my head.
But listen, that holiday party, we were safe. We trusted each other.
Talking about substance, like they were feeding us alcohol, like
conscious, and to that point, being conscious of like, yes, you're going to a holiday party at your job. Yes, everybody loves open bar, but being able to discipline yourself enough to know, like, okay, if you're going to this place that's going to have an open bar, make sure you have enough for an Uber to get home. You're not going to pay for the drinks, right? So make sure you can get home, because if you're too drunk, you shouldn't be going to the next place.
Yeah, right.
Because the next place is only going to make it worse.
Also,
and make sure you have friends.
Yeah, recognize your friends' limits.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Be okay with the night has to end early because your friend is drunk. It's better for you both to be safe at their house than for one of you to be out by yourself still partying and the other person at home drunk.
Right.
You don't know what this person.
And I want to encourage to spread the idea of community too. It's like when you see somebody else, if you are a safe person, think about how you can extend that safety to other people. Obviously keeping yourself safe, but one of the things that I think about quite often is how, in the instance where somebody went out with somebody that wasn't careful, went out with those bad friends or whatever, and they are stuck at the bar. Right. They are stuck, or they are drinking to excess, and who's going to get them home? Putting them in an Uber, if you can afford it, and getting them home is like, just knowing that somebody got home safe, because there's nothing worse than seeing the news and you're like, I definitely saw them. And that person is now hurt or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, recognizing when other people have hit their limits, because not everybody knows, and not everybody, some people are dealing or struggling a lot, like you said, with the depression. And so when you can see like, oh boy, they're like past the limit. Like, how can I care for them without being invasive or taking over, controlling?
Maybe just offer a bottle of water in between.
Hydrate them.
And be honest, like, if you don't want to be that friend, say it. Own it. Because if you have friends who are alcoholics, if you have friends who are substance abusers and users, if you don't want to be the friend to take care of them, you have to tell them that. Right. Yeah. Because we, as an alcoholic, will depend on you because you are that safe friend for us. Right. And we don't want to lose a safe friend because of our habit. Right. But if you're not telling us how it's affecting you, we can't change.
Exactly.
Yeah. They tell me they're not going to hold my hand all the
time. Nope. You wore that shoe. You going to wear it.
Okay. Let's move on. Staying safe during the holidays. Okay.
does
We
that
are
mean?
coming down towards the end. Okay, so for folks who are traveling during the holidays, how do you ensure your safety when you're meeting someone new? And do you think apps or social media makes it easier or riskier?
We'll start with Trinity this time.
I think it makes them both, because there are far too many people who get on these apps and don't stand their ground. Honestly, and as someone who had to learn how to do it, I can say it confidently. Like, if you don't stand your ground, then it becomes riskier because people begin to play in your face and begin to think that they can get more than what you said. But also, it's sad that while consent is verbal, it is not the only way that someone can give consent. If you're not paying attention to someone's body language, you're not going to know that they're uncomfortable. So I think that when people are hooking up on these apps, if you get a bad energy from somebody, it is okay to say you're not going to do it. It's difficult in the moment, yes, but it is better to stand your ground than to put yourself in a risky situation that you can't get yourself out of, or that you don't feel like you would be able to get yourself out of.
Bonus question. For someone who just recently, let's say this year or in the last year and a half, has contracted HIV, and they're looking to meet people this year. They're ready to get back on the horse. How do they navigate those conversations? Or what do
What
you
advice
think are
would you give
best
them?
practices and advice that you would give them?
It's a tough.
It is a tough one.
It's a tough one.
Just be honest with yourself would be the first one. Be honest with what you're looking for, so you can be honest with the people that you're engaging with. Yeah, I'm not gonna say. Yeah, I don't know.
I want people to be honest, but I want them to be honest within the confines of safety.
Right? Yes.
That's really important for me, because I think one of the things that happens is that, and I feel this all the time when I hear like certain groups of queer people be like, just be out, just be you, and I'm like, baby, it's not always safe.
No.
It is okay to change into trade and get home. Okay,
mini mask. Okay,
right?
Catch me on that.
And that's not me encouraging people to hide a status from folks, but what I'm saying is that if you can figure out through either test conversation as you're starting to like openly converse, maybe you don't reveal your own status, but you say like, hey, have you ever hooked up with anybody who's identified as living with HIV? Have you ever do you know the procedures for staying safe, just in case, using safety language or just safe sex language to sort of test where this person is and to where they're if they're a safe person to have that revealing conversation with. I do think you should be honest with partners, because people at minimum want to be able to make, be able to make have a conversation and trace back if they end up later on testing positive. But and you want people to make an informed decision about engaging in sexual exchange with you or romantic exchange of any kind with you.
Also asking them if they're on PrEP or what kind of
And having
safer sex
conversations.
practices they have.
Would you suggest traveling with contraceptives?
Well, I would suggest you get on PrEP, because that's the best.
And where can I find PrEP at?
You can find PrEP at PKOL. It's the Philly Keep on Loving website. We have our teleprep program there. But
what if I'm not on
and
PrEP,
if you're
but I
not
have an
on PrEP
exposure?
and you have an exposure, you can get on PEP. We have a PEP hotline. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but it will go at the bottom of the screen. All right.
Could you tell us the difference? Because I'm not sure I know.
That was a whole nother episode that you guys can get all of that. Okay. We don't have the time. But also carrying around condoms is another thing. It's the oldest and best practice, right? You can have condoms if you're not on PEP or PrEP, or you can always have condoms.
The holidays are also a time where people who are not housed or who are housing insecure, these are the times that they are needed. This is a really fine question. How do they stay safe during the holidays? Because you can get a free plate from the shelter, but going to someone's house you may have to be the warm space that they sleep in. So how do people who are housing insecure or food insecure navigate these times, especially wanting to be around people or taking handouts from someone who says like, hey, you can come here, because
But
some
you-
people
it
do
has
have
conditions.
ulterior motive,
It
right?
has
There,
conditions. Yeah, I don't
everything
like
has
that.
like I believe in the time and age that we have, everything's is conditions. We all are trying to figure out, well, what's in it for me, whether it's an employer, whether it is somebody. If somebody asks you for $1 now on the street, you be like, well, what are you going to give me for this $1? Come wash my car. Like,
No
so
shade.
what do we like, how do they, what are their red flags? What should they watch out for, I should say?
Don't do anything you don't want to do.
Well, no, that's real. Don't do anything you don't want to do. And understanding that people who are housing displaced, what they don't want to do looks very different from people who have homes,
Exactly.
who have jobs, who have these things. So being realistic with, I don't like the way
What your
this
limits
sounds.
are, like,
What your
yeah,
limits
yeah.
are and what you can deal with in terms of PTSD after.
Yeah, right.
Because having those upfront conversations are important, because if you know that you may have to put yourself in a situation that you would not normally feel
survival.
comfortable for survival.
Yeah, I get
You have to prepare yourself for what's going to happen during and after. And for those folks who do have ulterior motives that are listening, shame on y'all. This is a time of the year where it's not just about bringing people together. It's about making sure people are all right. Like in Philadelphia alone, it's freezing temperatures almost every night, and we have yet to get snow. So if there are people out there that are choosing to use it as an opportunity to harm people, that is sad.
That is sad.
Well, you all,
This is part 1.
this is part 1. Y'all know we love a 2-parter because we be over here talking. So catch us right after this for part 2 of Holidays, Love and Safety, Navigating Relationships, Family, and Wellness. We'll be right back.